I was standing in my mother's kitchen, holding a letter from a title company, when I realized my sister had been planning this long before our mother took her last breath. The letter was addressed to the new sole owner of the property. That wasn't supposed to be a single name, it was supposed to be both of ours. My mother raised us alone after our father left when I was 9 and Dana was 6. She worked 2 jobs for most of my childhood, bought a small house in her 40s that she was fiercely proud of, and spent the last decade telling both of us it would be ours equally when she was gone. Not because of some legal formality, because that's what she wanted. Equal, always equal. She said it so many times it stopped feeling like a statement and started feeling like gravity. Just a fact of the world. When Mum was diagnosed with early-stage dementia 2 years before she died, Dana stepped up. She moved back to our hometown, became Mum's primary caretaker, managed the appointments, the medications, the paperwork. I lived 4 hours away and visited every few weeks. I sent money, I called every day. But Dana was the one in the house, and I was grateful for that. I told her so constantly. I trusted her completely. What I didn't know was that Dana had spent those 2 years quietly repositioning herself as the sole decision-maker for everything Mum owned. She'd gotten herself added to every account. She'd had Mum sign documents during periods when her cognition was at its worst, something I only pieced together later, reading through timestamps and medical records. And 6 weeks after Mum passed, while I was still deep in grief and settling her affairs from a distance, Dana filed a deed transfer on the house, signed in both our names, except I had never signed anything. The title company letter was a courtesy copy. They thought I already knew. I had to read it 3 times before I understood what I was looking at. I called Dana. She told me I was confused, that Mum had changed her wishes near the end and had wanted Dana to have the house given everything she'd sacrificed, that it was all perfectly legal. Her voice was completely calm. That calmness is what I remember most. The total absence of guilt. She'd rehearsed this conversation. I don't fully remember the weeks after that call. I know I barely slept. I know I sat with a printout of the deed transfer on my kitchen table for days, reading it over and over, trying to find a version of events where my sister hadn't done what I knew she'd done. I felt sick in a way that had nothing to do with the money or even the house. It was the realization that she'd watched me grieve our mother while knowing what she'd done. She'd hugged me at the funeral, she'd cried beside me at the graveside, and the whole time the paperwork was already filed. Eventually, I did the only thing I knew to do. I got a lawyer. The attorney requested the original notarized deed documents through the county recorder's office. When they arrived, my lawyer flagged something immediately. The notary stamp on the transfer deed was issued by a mobile notary who had no record of visiting my mother's address on the date listed, or any date near it. The notary's log, which they're required to keep, had no entry for my mother's name or property at all. That one discrepancy unraveled everything. A forensic document examiner compared the signature on the deed to samples of my actual handwriting from other records. The conclusion was unambiguous. The signature was not mine. Dana had forged it. She was charged with deed fraud and forgery. The civil case to reverse the title transfer was almost secondary. The county moved quickly once the criminal complaint was filed. The house was returned to the estate to be divided as my mother had originally intended. Dana pled guilty to avoid trial and was ordered to pay full restitution, including my legal fees. I haven't spoken to her since the plea. I don't know if I ever will. What she took from me wasn't really the house. It was the version of my family I thought I had, the sister I thought I knew, the grief I should have been allowed to carry without also carrying betrayal underneath it. But here's what I've held on to. My mother said equal. She said it over and over because she meant it. And in the end, even after everything Dana did, that's what it came back to. Not because Dana came clean, not because of some last-minute conscience, because my mother's intention was documented, and documented things are hard to erase, even when someone tries very hard. Keep records of everything, especially the things that feel too sacred to ever need proof.